Hey everyone, in today's video I'll be talking about how to connect to a Mongo database using Flask. So to connect to this, to follow along with this video, you'll need a Mongo database. I'm using MLab. They have free databases up to 500 megabytes I believe, so that should be enough for your purposes, but you can have a database hosted on your local machine or some other service that can host a Mongo database. So if you aren't familiar with Mongo databases, it's basically a NoSQL database, and really the main idea is to store data as documents, and these documents are in the form of JSON objects. So instead of having tables like you do in a SQL database with a schema defining what goes into those tables, with a Mongo database you can just add in whatever you want. So it makes it harder to keep track of relationships, but it makes it much easier to use. And if you're making something small, it may work for your purposes. So to get started, I will create a new database here so I can have something to connect to. And this is a pretty easy process with MLab. You have to choose a provider. This is just so your database can be close to your app if you happen to have your app hosted on some cloud provider. I'll just keep the default here. I want single node and I want the sandbox, which is free. I don't want to pay $2,000 for this M6. And then I'll give a name to the database. I'll call it Pretty Printed Connect. And I'll create a new one. So once this gets created, I will then have to add a user, and it's going to take just a second to connect. And while we wait for that, just make sure you install MongoAlchemy. So it would be pip install Flask-MongoAlchemy, just like that. I already have it installed, so I don't need to run this. If I do, it tells me that I already have it installed. So it looks like the database has been created. So I can go here and I need to create a user. It's going to warn me to tell me that I need a user, so I'll create one here. I'll call the username Pretty and the password will be printed. Create. Okay, so now I have this database and it has this URI here. I will need this in just a moment. But with MongoAlchemy installed, Flask-MongoAlchemy that is, I will connect to the database. So let me import a couple of things from Flask, import Flask. And if you're familiar with SQL Alchemy, MongoAlchemy is very similar. SQL Alchemy is an object relational mapper, and MongoAlchemy is an object document mapper. They're basically pretty much the same thing as just connecting to two different types of databases, but they get the same thing accomplished, where you can define what you want your database to be in your code, and then the Alchemy part interfaces between your code and the database to make it easier for you to manage the data in your database. So I want to include MongoAlchemy and import MongoAlchemy, so camel case. And then I'll create the Flask app. And then I need to do a couple of configuration things for the database. So the first one is the name of the database. So I believe it's MongoAlchemy _database. And the name of the database that I created was Pretty Printed Connect. And then there's a second configuration value that I'll need to set, and I can't remember exactly what it is. That's why I have the docs open here. This connection string. So I'll copy this and paste it in here. And this connection string is what Mongo or MLab gave you. So here it is. If you are using your own computer for this, you'll have to adjust the values accordingly. And if you're using a different service, they'll probably provide you with this URI. So I'll paste that in there. I have to change the username to be Pretty and then the password to be printed because that's what I just created. Okay, so I have that. So basically I just need to initialize the database. So DB is MongoAlchemy, and it takes in the Flask app. And from there, all I need to do is create an example schema definition. And it's not quite a schema in the sense of an SQL database. It's just something that helps you keep track of the data in your database in the Mongo database. So the class is going to be example, and these classes need to inherit from db.document. And I will add one property to this. I will call it name, and it's going to be a string field. So I'll save this, and then in my console, I'll run this. So I'll start up Python, and I'll import everything from my file, which is connect. So from connect import star. And I forgot semicolon. So let's try that again. And that most likely means that I connected successfully. If something were wrong here, like a username was wrong, or I'll change the username so it's wrong, and I'll connect again. I'll need to exit out and then connect again. Normally it will fail, so import star. And you see how the authentication fell down here? That's because my username was wrong. So if you get no response when you import everything, that probably means that you connected successfully. So I'll exit out of here, and I'll start up Python again from connect import star. And very simply, I just want to create something in the database so we can verify that I am actually connected to the database. So I'll just create something. I'll call it Anthony, and I'll take the class example, and I'll pass in a name of Anthony. And all I have to do is save. Since this is a Mongo database, there's no such thing as a transaction. It's basically just putting things in the database and reading them. There's no group of things that you can put together like you can in SQL. So I'll save that, and that's it. So now I should have a document with my name in it in the database. And if that is true, I'll be able to see it here. So refresh this, and it says collections, name, example, documents 1. Let's open this up and see what's in there. And we see there's this JSON object that has my name in it. The ID is automatically added, but my name is the most important part. So we now see that I am connected to the database. So that's all I want to show you in this video, how to actually connect to the database. In later videos, I'll show you how to do other things using Flask-MongoAlchemy, but in this video, that's all I wanted to cover. So if you have any questions about connecting to a Mongo database using Flask, just let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please subscribe. So thank you for watching this video. And oh, by the way, I'll add a link to the documentation in the description below when I'm done with this video. So thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.